I'm Andrea Lee Matthews, writer, photographer, and clairvoyant medium, and this is the Bold, Brave Woman Project. This podcast is a living, breathing unfolding of what it really means to step into our becoming. Born from the ashes of a failed YouTube channel, this weekly podcast brings you real, unfiltered moments of failure, of bravery, and of deep intuitive knowing so that you too can step into who you're becoming with even more trust and bravery. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Bold, Brave Woman Project. I've been thinking a lot lately about this project and about what it really means to be a bold, brave woman. I think what's been really interesting is I've always had certain definitions of bold and brave and what it means to be a woman, particularly in today's society. But lately, I've been trying to really dig into that and think, yes, but what does that mean for me? What does that mean for me and for my life? And if I am to go on this journey of making myself the bold, brave woman, the woman in the project, the woman who wants to dream and dare and do things, what is it that I need to change? Like, what does that actually tangibly and realistically look like? And it sent me on a bit of a rabbit hole, and that's why I want to share this episode with you right at the top of the podcast, because I've actually landed in some places that I didn't expect and have been battling a few things lately that I've really had to dig into and around to work out what it is that I really want for myself, what it is that I want for my life. Do I want to continue down the pathway of the things that I've been doing and the way that I've been living my life and the way I've been managing my relationships? And I'm not sure that it is. And whilst facing these kinds of questions can be daunting, can be scary, can be anxiety provoking, there's also this moment of expansiveness, of expression, of really excavating what is real and what is true and not fact, because I know there's a big difference between true and fact, particularly when it comes to being a human and living in a nuanced society with everything that is around us in terms of our material lives, but also our energetic lives as well. But who is it that I really want to be? Now, up until this point, I've been reflecting a lot on my life. I have had such a meandery type life, especially when it came to my career. And I've defined myself by who am I as by what I'm doing. What I'm doing in terms of my career, in terms of my hobbies and activities, my day-to-day routines. I've allowed the doing and the action and the titles to really define who I am. And this has worked well and quote unquote successfully, both financially and from a relationship perspective for a long time. And so I haven't really needed to question it, but just with all of this energy that's moving through me at the moment, I'm in this place where I actually want to lift up the lid and the curtain and dust these places and spaces off and look at them with a perspective of questioning, A, how did I get here? And B, is this really what I want to continue to move forward? And it's been both a delightful and expansive period, but also one of quite dark and heaviness. Not so much darkness, but heaviness and sadness and contraction of questioning and realization that perhaps I've landed myself in a space and a lifestyle that isn't one that really aligns with my heart in terms of who I am now and where I'm going. I look back over my life and none of the decisions have been wrong. This isn't about reflecting and having regret and wanting to have made different decisions. There's a huge amount of grace and gratitude that I do feel when I look back across my life, because all of the hardships, all the difficulties, all of the decisions that were made that perhaps led me down paths that were less anticipated still got me to be where I am now, even with some of the contraction and things that I am working through. But it's such a beautiful place to be with all of this depth of experience and wealth of knowledge that comes from having lived through a lot of those experiences and having to ask a lot of those questions based on the things that I have either done or seen or witnessed or had done to me. There's a wealth of questions that now exist for me to be able to ask, that if I hadn't have had those moments and those experiences, I wouldn't even be aware that there were different questions to ask or different ways to see or look. And it also helps me relate to the world and relate to people on a deeper level. And so there's this huge sense of gratitude that I do carry with me every day, but also this need now to really just sit and look at it all and ask, well, who do I want to be? Not just who I am, because of course that is always evolving. And of course the decisions and actions and things that I've done that have led to this point shape who I am, but who do I want to be? And one of the things that I've been thinking about recently and has come through really clear for me is this difference between want and need. And I think for a long time, I've confused the two. I've lived in this place of, well, I need everything, or I want everything because I need it. I have had a career, and the different episodes will touch on different facets of this, but I've had a career where I've done lots of different things, from creative to engineering and technical to marketing to strategic, back into nursing fields and healing fields and service fields, right across again to creative and strategic. And I have just gone through these different cycles and different periods where I've had different focuses in my life. And along the way, I have picked up certain lifestyle traits, like I want to live in a really good suburb and I want to have a certain type of living sort of environment in terms of like really modern and clean, and you walk in and it's like marble and it feels really lovely. Like, I'm not talking lavish, but I'm just talking that simplistic, modern, yeah, I've made it when I walk in the door and look around at the fixtures and the fittings and the furnishings. Like, somehow in my life I've attributed success to things like that. And I want a certain relationships. I want deep, caring relationships with my friend and my family and my husband. And I have a beautiful relationship with my husband, but I also want to make sure I am seen to be social and have certain friendship groups and feel fulfilled on those levels. And, I want to do certain hobbies. There's been lots of things that I just along the way of moving in and out of these different careers and these different experiences and decisions I've made, that I've picked up all of these, well, I need these things because otherwise I'm unhappy. And I've built a life around these decisions and around these wants. But what is really interesting is, of late, I've gotten everything that I really, quote unquote, wanted. The definition that I thought was going to make me happy in terms of the house in the nice suburb, or the apartment rather, in the nice suburb with the beautiful fixtures and fittings and furniture, the perfect marriage with an amazing man. So I can say, this is my husband and I'm married, and, the title that goes with that. I've got the coaching business, which is, one of those titles that a lot of people seek around, oh, you're a coach or a mentor, you run your own business, you're an entrepreneur. There's a certain level, even though it's hard work, prestige and reputation that goes with that. I work for myself. I make my own hours. I call in my own clients. There's a lot of power and, like I said, reputation or energetic status that comes along with that. So all these things that I'd been dreaming of and working towards, I woke up recently and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I followed that path and I have those things. Why is it then that there's still a part of me that doesn't want to be here, that doesn't want to be in this apartment, that doesn't want to necessarily show up on Instagram and do all the things that we need to do for our coaching business and serve the clients in the way that we've set the framework up to do. The way that my husband and I have set up our lifestyle and our hobbies and our routines and habits and how we have dinner and all of the things. Like, why am I all of a sudden having chased and built and wanted all of these things? Why am I so sad and empty and unfulfilled? And I'm not saying that nothing in my life makes me happy. My husband and I recently moved into this new, beautiful apartment. And in our old apartment, I was dreaming of this new apartment, and we've moved and we've been here for 4 months now. This last couple of weeks, I would say the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been waking up and I'm like, well, why is this not enough? Like, why is the thing that I thought was going to bring me joy not? Did I make a wrong choice? Should we have stayed in the other place? You start to question all of our decisions and doubt ourselves. But I realized at some point I had followed a path that I had set for myself based on what I thought that I needed and that I wanted. And I've woken up with the universe and all the effort that I've put in, that I have the thing that I wanted. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, maybe that's not what I wanted, because I was sleepwalking on autopilot into a life that I thought I needed or I thought that I wanted. And this all catalyzed because recently I went to an event. There was an event by a mentor and a coach that I love here in my area of Melbourne. And she was hosting an event that was a collaboration event. It was an event that brought powerful women together into a space to meet, network, collaborate, learn more about collaboration, get into the energy and the energetics of what that is and how that works, so that powerhouse women could come together and build incredible things together. Because as a solo entrepreneur, we don't necessarily always want to work solo. Sometimes if we find our right person, we want to create and build magical things together. And I'd kind of gotten to a point in my coaching business where I was like, I think collaboration is the next level. That is the next level of success and door opening and opportunity that I need. And so when this event first popped up, I was like, right, I'm there. Bought my ticket, and my mum's also in this beautiful space as well. So I mentioned it to her and she's like, yes, I want to go too. It's going to be amazing. So we booked accommodation. We'd organized all of our things. We were going to go away for a couple of days and go to this event and brainstorm. It was going to be magical. And so for a month, I was like, oh, this event's going to be my next level. This event's going to have the answers that I seek. And so I had so much anticipation on this event, unlocking the next level, both within me and for me in terms of collaboration. And I got down there, we checked into our little Airbnb, which was beautiful, modern, and all of the aesthetic things that, makes you feel, particularly when you're an entrepreneur, that you've made it. This is amazing. And the next morning we get up and we get ready and, quite excited. We head off to this event. And the event itself was at a winery. So again, it was at the beautiful location. There was, it was beautiful reception upon arrival, and we settle into this space, and then the event starts. And the women who were leading it were very high energy and beautiful, high intentional women. But what I realized the longer that I sat and watched this event and watched these women in this space, it's hard to describe, but there was a part of me that kind of got further and further and further away, as if I was watching it from a bird's eye view perspective, and had nothing but this feeling of, oh my goodness. I thought that I was one of these women, and that these are the kinds of events and spaces and women that I wanted to be in, host, lead, support, the whole thing. I thought that this was the world that not desperately, but this is the world that I was elevating my coaching to, because my coaching has been very deep and very intimate one-on-one. And I thought, no, I'm going to go big with events and stage and all of this kind of stuff. And I was watching this group and the women around me and just felt like an out-of-body experience. And I know this was my higher self starting to show to me and to crack open and release all of this armor, this shielding, this structure of who I had become. All of a sudden, my higher self and myself and my inner knowing started to release all of that. Outside, it was like a crust that I'd been wearing. Whatever was going on in this moment and being divinely supported, all of this stuff just melted, just cracked and melted away. And all of a sudden I was sitting there and I was like, I don't want any of this. This is not who I am. This is not the world that I want to be. I don't want to lead these kinds of rooms. Like, I had been following a path of entrepreneurship, of marketing, of branding, of becoming, of contorting to be a coach that I thought was the best version of me that I should be. And I'd found myself in this room, which I had, been so excited to get into and to paid for, only to realize I don't want any of this. This is not for me. And this is absolutely no comment on these incredible, powerful women that are leading this workshop. And this is no comment on the women in the space, because I could see them in their full, beautiful selves. But I realized all of a sudden that I'd been trying to emulate and become a version of that, which for them is a beautiful fit. But for me, I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing? This is nuts. This is not the life that I want to have. This is like, I've somehow sleepwalked my way into wanting this or thinking that I need this. And comes back to this confusion around want or need. It's like I didn't want it. And I'm also realizing I didn't need it. And I'd entangled both of the two things. But what happened was it was like a 4-hour event. And by the time the event ended, there was something that sometimes happens when we have this cracking open, that we start to make sense of it. We start to turn to either blame or justify or explain it. And the only thing I could turn to was turn it inward. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not enjoying this? Why am I starting to feel like there's something wrong with me? There's something broken. Why is this not the answer that I've been seeking, when all indications on paper or logic or the way that I've lived my life until this point, why is it not the solution? Like, why is it not working and fitting? And I had these questions swirling around, and like, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I broken? Am I stuck in scarcity? All of these questions, pointing it inward as if there was something drastically wrong with me and that they were right, and that this world of entrepreneurship was right and correct and gospel written in stone, and there was something broken within me. And so we left the event and got back to the accommodation, and I felt like an empty shell. I walked into the accommodation and the tears started. The heaviness started, the questioning, that feeling of like, I thought I'd built this incredible solid basis, and all of a sudden it was like that had just smashed into a million pieces, and I was just falling and floating and not knowing where the solid ground was anymore, because this thing that I thought was real and that I'd wanted and that was going to carry me to my next level of my life and a deeper connection with myself had just been shattered. All of a sudden I was seeing everything and feeling everything, and I just sunk into this really, it wasn't a darkness, but it was a despair of, if not this, then what? I've always been, I guess this is part of societal conditioning, that my logical mind is the safest bet. Like if my logical mind can figure it out and I can see it, then I can plan it, then I can be sure that it's going to happen and I'm safe. And so with this space, with being in this, all of a sudden, this liminal void space of, well, if not that, then what? My mind was absolutely reeling. And this is the thing, I do know quite a lot about human design, and particularly about my own human design. I'm a 6/2. I have pretty much everything in my centers undefined and open except for my spleen and my sacral. And so the only two things that I know for sure to rely on is my connection to my intuition and to source, and my deep knowing, my body's ability to know what is right or what is wrong. I have an open head. I have an open top of mind. I have all of my other centers open. So that means that I can feel, see, sense, know, take in, map, match all of the other energies that are around me. But in terms of who I am now and where I'm going, that is the job of my sacral and my spleen. But because I have operated and been conditioned to for such a long time to be academic, to be logical, to be sure by plans and stats, and feel safe by making decisions in that way, this smashing of this grounded platform that I had been working on building and increasing and heightening, with that gone, everything just felt like it was reeling. Like, if not this, then what? And so I just ended up into this place of, I can only really describe it as despair. This despair of sadness of not this, then what? If not this, then who am I? And we were due to check out the next morning after this event. My mom and I spent the rest of that day just kind of like feeling through all of the stuff. I don't know whether to burn everything to the ground, whether to start pivoting, to do something different. Like everything just became liminal and vast and unsure. But at the same time, even though there was so much despair and so much questioning there was also this feeling of, yes, blank slate. My logical mind was fighting it because it was like, if I have a blank slate, what do I write on the slate? Like, tell me what to write on the slate. I need to know. I need to be able to write something or draw something or just know. And so I had to really work with that and be like, no, blank slate means opportunity. It means possibility. It means discovery, not only of what this is, but who I am and the life that I truly want to lead. And we were meant to check out of the accommodation the next morning, but I was in such a space of sadness and questioning that I said to my mom, like, I can't go back to my home right now because I don't know where I am and who I am. And so we quickly got on, as women do. We got on to Airbnb and we found another place because the place that we just checked out of wasn't available. I would have just gone back there, but that's okay. We found another Airbnb and I just looked at my mom. I'm like, is this crazy? Like, should I just suck it up and go back home and like just figure it out? Like, it's crazy to pay for another 2 nights of accommodation, you know? Is this worth it? And we looked at each other and we're like, let's just do it. She wasn't ready to go home too because she was in this beautiful energy of all this expansiveness that had happened. She's like, I need some more time to really marinate in this and figure out what I want to do too. So we found another Airbnb and we booked it and we checked in for another 2 nights. And those 2 nights were so tough in terms of not knowing the solid ground that I wanted to have underneath me. It wasn't that I couldn't or didn't have solid ground, but all of a sudden it was like, what ground do I want underneath me? Where do I want to take this? What do I want to do? And so I spent those 2 days just really allowing myself to feel this. We sat by the water a lot and looked at the ocean and how beautiful that is. And we went on a gondola ride up and down the mountain to see as far as we could see. And we meditated and journaled and just spent time in the space of allowing this emotion to move through. And it was the best thing, honestly, because in that space, I allowed myself to really realize, oh my goodness, I have gone through my life just shaving off pieces of me and parts of me that have enabled me to fit into spaces and boxes. Like I just shaved a little bit off here and shaved a little bit off there to become a certain kind of coach or a certain kind of wife, or to fit into the suburb that I live in. It's like, oh, just trim this and trim that. But that trimming at the time, and when I reflect back onto it, it wasn't forced trimming. It was willing trimming. Like I had willingly been like, no, that's the thing I'm going to do. That's what I want. It's going to nip and tuck and contort. And I unwillingly done so, to the point where I'd convinced myself that's what I wanted and that was comfortable. And all of a sudden I'm in this place that I'm like, I can't breathe. Where have I shaved off parts of myself? Where have I become so deeply sad, but optimistically convinced that I have a good life and that I was doing good in the world and that I was in service and that was enough? And like, I absolutely love my work in terms of helping the world and helping women, but I had somehow found myself doing it in a way that was conforming. And I'd woken up living a life and a routine in a house in a way that I was like, I don't like any of this. I wouldn't say hate. I don't hate anything. I just am like, it's just not enough. It's not enough because it's not aligned. And that's where I've realized that I had confused the difference between want and need. I'd blurred the lines and I'd made what I'd need and what I thought I needed to be the wants and to be the things that I chased. But what I've realized is that what I actually need, there's only a few things. One is for me, and everybody will be slightly different, but my absolute needs are clean food. Like I have a lot of sensitivities just based on my energetics. I have a lot of sensitivities around food. So I just need clean, healthy food. I need clean water. I need shelter and warmth because I struggle when I'm really cold and I have the body type that feels the cold bitterly. So just shelter and warmth and sunlight. Like food, water, shelter, warmth, sunlight. You know, in those things, being safe, just finding safety and security in those things, they are the only things that I need. That I absolutely need, and everything else around that is up for grabs. And it's up for grabs in the way that I can define what it is that I want. When I think about the things that light me up, I want to be able to see out and see a view. If I can't see the sky and I can't see nature, I feel super enclosed. And that's the problem that I'm having in this beautiful apartment. Like the internal furnishings and fixtures of this apartment is gorgeous. You know, it's in a prestigious building, in a well sought after, quiet upper class area. But the outlook isn't fabulous because we look out onto the complex of other apartments. And so there's this caged kind of feeling that comes in, even although there's a marble bench top. You know what I mean? Like I need to be able to see out. I'm like so at peace when I can see. And it was the same when I was sitting by the sea or on the gondola. As long as I can see out and I'm in a place that is just peaceful, I'm happy. So it's like, right, that is a want. That is an absolute want, teetering on the edge of need, but it's something that I want to have in my life, that I want to build my life around. The other thing is, because of my energetics, my mediumship, my channeling, my psychic abilities, one of the things that I love is having time to just listen, to be in the silence, to just have nothing but the nature sounds around me so that I can just hear and listen and channel and interpret and bring through. That gives me such a deep sense of peace. So that is another want. That is a thing that I want to build my life around. And the other thing that brings me so much joy is travel. It's exploring, it's not knowing and then slowly meandering and uncovering. And financially, that often leads to increased expenditure to be able to do that. There's part of my mind that always goes, oh, probably should save that. I should save that and invest that in the business. I should save that and do this other thing. And so a couple of years ago, I did a few massive trips overseas, and they brought me so much joy. And I didn't realize just how little value I had placed on that. I'd put them in the bucket of the niceties, a luxury. I tried to put my business around, I'm just going to be a digital nomad and run my business everywhere in the world. But that didn't necessarily fit at the time because, again, I was copying other digital nomads and thought that that would be the thing to do. But this time recently, I've really felt the times that I'm the most happiest is when my husband and I are going on a little trip to explore a new place. Or we'll jump on the train and travel for hours in a direction to end up in a curious little town that we then explore and have lunch and come back. Or I'm road tripping, or I'm heading out somewhere to meet someone. And I realized that this feeling of being on the move, of being and heading towards these destinations that are beautiful, that are expansive, that are nature driven, the hiking, the walking, camping, all of those things, they are things that I want. They're not things that I want to keep in the luxury or when I have time bucket. They're not things that we just do on the weekend when we're not working. They are a lifestyle choice that I want to have. And so there was another thing that I'm realizing. I'd sliced that off and categorized that in a certain way that I couldn't do it. But they are things that I desperately want in my life. And so I got home from this event and had to have a really big conversation with my husband to admit that I was so unhappy that I had sleepwalked into a life that I thought I wanted. I'd sleepwalked into living in a certain way that wasn't perhaps me. I'd woken up one day and realized I'd contorted myself so much, but it's why things that I try don't work. It's why I am always wanting to leave the apartment. Not because the apartment's bad or the suburb is bad. It's because I'm not free. I'm not myself. And so having that conversation was obviously difficult because my husband automatically was worried that it was because of us. And of course, he and I are not the problem. He is beautiful and I love him with all of my heart and my soul. And he makes me happy. He makes me laugh. But the lifestyle that we had chosen to build for ourselves had lent a little bit more based on expectation and should, and a little bit more on his sort of lifestyle as well, which he loves to be grounded and cozy and comfortable and stable. And I respect that. I absolutely respect that. But I had kind of just sleepwalked into making that or trying to make that mine, and it wasn't. So we had to have this big conversation, and I shared with him deeply that, honey, I'm not happy. I don't know what the change is yet, but I'm going to have to make a change. I'm going to have to make a drastic change for me to become this beautiful sense of who it is that I want to be. This real, for the very first time in my life, this authentic, real, stripped back version of who I am. And I don't know who that is, but I know that I'm not her, or I haven't been her, and I'm now wanting to become her so desperately, so intimately. And him being such an incredible human, he accepted it. And he's like, whatever you need. If you want to, do something else, let's do it. Like, divorce isn't going to solve anything for us because our marriage isn't the problem. But having someone so willing to see and understand how you're feeling is so incredible that I remain grateful for that and for him. But it sent me on this trajectory then for the next week of, well, who am I? And some things started to open within me that had never really opened to the depths that they have before, because all of a sudden they have space. Things like writing. Like, I am writing on Threads and Substack vivaciously, which I've always been a very good writer in terms of I've held lots of different jobs that required writing and my writing has been good, but not like this. Not from a deeply channeled, open tap way. And so I'm realizing, like I said to him, like writing, like I need to write. I need to figure out a way to just write and express. And I don't know what that will lead to, but I need to open that door. And the other one is photography. Again, I've never wanted to really learn and pick up a camera, but this need all of a sudden came through me to be able to start capturing what I see and how I feel alongside my writing in the photographic form. And so all of these new channels, because I allowed myself to go back to the liminal space and strip back all of the things that I thought I wanted, to be like, what is it that I want? And I listen and just listen and allow those little trickles to come in and follow them. I'm starting to feel like I'm seeing the version of who I am that I really want to be, that is authentic, that is real to me. And so I've contacted an amazing photographer to ask for mentorship. I'm looking at changing the way that I completely live so that I can wake up in the morning and have the sunlight on my skin to be able to write and express and be curious and take who I am and what I do on the road and allow whatever opportunities that will bring to come through me. I'm opening the doors to that. I'm continually exploring with my husband and with myself. This is what I want, and not being too afraid to say it. This is the most significant thing that I'm discovering through this process, is that it is scary to go to your loved ones and say, I don't know who I am. I'm deeply unhappy. Here are some of the things that are lighting me up, and I want to go and do that. Is such a big conversation to have. It takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage, but it was the most powerful thing that I could have done. And of course, at first he was like, oh no, are we okay? Are we okay? And I'm like, this is not about us. You and I are solid. And I'm like, if you want to come, come. But this is what I need to do. I can't stay here. I can't keep slicing off parts of myself to fit into this life because I'm just so sad. I need to do this for me, but I'm not trying to burn everything to the ground. And if a life on the road is not for you, that's okay. You can stay and we'll figure it out. No matter what, we'll figure it out, because whatever is meant to be will be. Having those kinds of conversations are so difficult. And in the past, I would have agonized over that. The what ifs. How will he feel? What will he say? What will others say? Whereas now, with this beautiful frequency of bravery, of courage, all of the healing and all of the work that I've done, having those conversations, they're just what is. And I'm not saying I wasn't scared. I'm not saying that there weren't moments where I was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? But there was so much frequency behind me that I was matched to, that allowed me to just say. And of course, I broke down in tears. There were tears and things, but there is just this beautiful opportunity now to really start to uncover and step into and figure out along the way and adjust where my income comes from and where I am and who I'm with, because it is so important to me to really uncover who it is that I want to be. And what, if I really truly am a bold, brave woman project, I need to be true to being a bold, brave woman. And so if there is anything in your life that you are realizing that you've sleepwalked into, or you have confused want and need, or isn't fitting, just spend some time really feeling into that. Where have I confused want and need? Where does my soul want to take me? And what brave conversations am I willing to start having so that I can even just start the process of excavation? Because that's where it all began to me, going to this event, having all of these questions directed inward, and then starting to uncover it and being ready to answer them. This is going to be an unfolding journey. Like, I am right at the beginning now of starting to unpack and really figure out what this is going to look like in the next chapters. I'm going to be sharing it as I go, so that we can explore and uncover and experience this together. Because in this world, I truly believe that there are times that are beautiful and powerfully spent in solo moments of excavation, of questioning, of wondering, but also incredible moments of sharing and community and collaboration. So at any time you want to reach out or connect or share your own experiences, please feel free to do so. I'm going to be thinking and deeply pondering over the next week. I'll be back with more episodes on updates of this, but also other little thoughts and things that pop in along the way. And I cannot wait to see what unfolds for both of us, for all of us, for everyone who's here on this planet with us on this journey, because we are all bold, brave women, and I cannot wait to see what we create on the other side. Have a beautiful day, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to check out all of the behind the scenes content for this podcast, make sure you subscribe to my Substack channel, The Becoming Archive. You'll also be able to find me on Threads and Instagram at andy.matthews. Make sure you're connected and stay up to date with what's coming. If you're not in there yet and you want to get into the private Telegram space where all of these audios drop every day, as well as all the art, the conversation, and the behind the scenes, go to www.andrealeematthews.com/private podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Andrea Lee Matthews, and you can find more about me and all of my work at andrealeematthews.com. I'll see you in the next transmission.